Hello, everyone. This is Kim, with Ramblings with Kim. I think we came up with a new name, but I can't remember what it is because someone told me I need to stop rambling. Okay, so I'm going to get straight to the point on this. I've been trying to do a little bit more research. I've stayed out of the Israel Palestinian Middle East area for a very, 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 very long time. In fact, basically my whole entire political career, because it was just a quagmire that I felt would never get solved. There's too much political money and backlash that could ever stop what was happening in this area and have actual serious people sit down and try and solve it. And every time you would try and come up with a solution, everyone would yell, Holocaust, Shoah, Holocaust, Shoah. Okay, and then if you yelled that, you were automatically, someone would say, anti-Semite, anti-Semite, you're anti-Semitic. And it's exhausting and it's disappointing that that's where we're at, particularly for someone like me, because before October 7th, you can go back and you can look at my podcasts. Yes, they're shitty podcasts. I am who I am. I've come on here. I've tried to do my best. Yes, I have health issues. Yes, I have jobs. Yes, I have a whole gamut of things that I do. So I do the best that I can with what I have. As I told one of my earliest podcast hosts, no one will ever accuse me of having a professional looking podcast. That's not probably ever gonna be me, because I am very authentic, as you can tell. But anyways, if you go back and you look, I talk about Holocaust Memorial Day, and I talk about my 48 years, nearly 50 years of studying the Shoah. And literally, I mean studying it. I've gone back and I've literally wondered if somewhere along the line I'm not autistic. My youngest is autistic. I see some traits in there. I read The Story of Anna Frank when I was in 4th grade, and I couldn't stop. Our elementary school library, I went through every book that I could find. I watched every movie that I could find. And then I was excited to go to junior high school because I had a whole new library where I could find all new books on the Holocaust. And I went through that and new movies. And then I went to high school and it started all over again. And I read everything I could find, watched everything I could find. When I was younger, when I was in 4th grade and I was going through this, my grandfather, who served in World War II, brought up a army trunk full of stars and stripes he had saved while he was overseas. And he knew my fascination. So he brought with him, or brought upstairs, that showed them coming upon these concentration camps, these death camps, the bulldozers that they were using to put people into mass graves. Yes, most were Jews. We know that. Over 6 million Jews were killed during the Holocaust in World War II. They were not the only group, but they were the largest group. I read through everything I could find. I had gotten very sick that weekend. Yes, as you can tell, I've been a sickly child, I guess, all my life. I always thought that I wasn't that sick, and then I look back and I'm like, yeah, I was pretty sick. I guess I still am. So I read all of those, and then I read some pamphlets that my aunt brought back with her from Dachau when she went to Europe after she graduated from high school. And I saw a picture of someone who was at Dachau. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure if I'm interested in this anymore. And I don't know what it was. I switched something in my mind. And after that, of course, in college, things like that, I maybe didn't continue on with it as much, but then started back up like my second year of college, third year of college, and went on. And then as I was graduating from my undergrad, I started doing, of course, military issues and things like that. So I did do some while I was in undergrad, and it was extensive, and it was instrumental in the fact that I don't think that my instructor, who was Jewish at the time, thought that somebody of my background would know as much as I did and be as knowledgeable and be able to answer questions and be able to talk as eloquently about that as I could. Okay, fast forward. I have children. And with these children, Schindler's List comes out. And I say, okay, it's a horrible movie. It is. It's truly horrible. It's horrific. But my feeling is we should never forget, right? And there were very young children that had to go through these very real horrors. And so at the age of 6, I sat down with my children and I watched Schindler's List with each one of them. And I explained to them what was happening, why it was happening, how it could happen again, and how we could prevent it from happening. Except for my youngest, who was autistic. And that was the best way I felt like I could do my part with my children. They grew up with a very strong sense of justice. We lived overseas in Germany, and they went to death camps, and they went to concentration camps. And they learned a lot while we lived over there. Now, I was younger when I learned more about Israel. And my parents were not thrilled about the formation of Israel. I thought when I was younger that Israel would be a great place. Now we have a country for Jewish people to go to that would be somewhere that they could be safe, right? I bought into the propaganda. I was young. We didn't have the resources that we do now. So, finding out about Palestinians, I was Catholic, so you read the Bible and you think about the stories that are in there. We had the Old Testament, the New Testament. We read about how we were persecuted as Catholics. So it was the same type of thing. It wasn't until I got older that we basically came to the conclusion that it is a bunch of stories and myths written by man, hundreds or thousands of years after they basically happened. And there's very little archaeological evidence that could prove or disprove that these things happened. Now, this is also true for the Jewish people who have been nonstop on TikTok, who continuously say, we have been here for 4,000 years. What they refuse to say is that there was someone else there before them, before they came to take it over 4,000 years ago. Now, there's no archaeological evidence in Canaan or Canaanite that they were there 4,000 years ago. In fact, there's actually evidence that they weren't there. And there's evidence that Palestinians, possibly Palestinians, were there, but even that's iffy. Now we're talking about, you're going to have to go back to carbon dating, you have to find specific archaeological samples, and it's very difficult in an area in the Middle East that has been rife with war for thousands of years. And we all know that. Now, the Jewish people, when they just decided that they were going to just take over Palestine, did not decide to keep things in the most pristine order that they might have, because their goal was to get rid of as many Palestinians as possible. Now, the British decided they didn't like Jewish people. The Russians didn't like Jewish people. Germans, French, everybody, Americans didn't like Jewish people. So they thought, we'll give them Palestine. So Palestinians are there. We don't like Palestinians even less than we like Jewish people. So sure, why not? We'll just put them in there, and we'll give them some weapons, and they can get rid of the Palestinians, and we can get rid of the Jews, and it'll be all great, right? And we'll hope that nothing in the future will be found out about all this, and we won't have any new advances in technology because, as mankind, we've never made any advances since 5,000 years prior to be able to figure out anything, right? So we'll just go with that. And so that's what they did. So they started pushing Palestinians aside. And Palestinian lands, the Jews started taking them away. No, they did not buy them. No, they did not ask them if they could have them. They took them. They took their lands. Yes. As America took the Native American lands. Because that's what colonizers do. Now, the British had interest in doing that. They didn't want the Jews on their land. And they thought, well, gosh, if we could put them in there and kind of make them a puppet master and maybe control the Middle East, and Egypt is not doing exactly what we would like them to do. And we would kind of like to civilize, because British like to colonize and civilize places. Might be a win-win for us. So we're going to continue to keep doing this. So we continue on. We actually have I believe the Balfour, I think it was called the treaty. I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to start in 1948 when everyone felt guilty because they didn't want to take the Jews into their land. So the Jews who were knocking on everyone's door saying, please help us because the Germans are going to destroy us. They're trying to kill us. They're asking us to go to work camps where no people are disappearing. So, UK, please take us. UK said, no, we don't like you either. The US, please take us. The US is like, oh, fuck no. We really don't like you. Russia, well, they're an ally of Germany, so that's probably not a good idea. Okay, so Anne Frank went to Holland, and then they had to hide. Okay, so where are we going to go? We're going to go to Norway. All right, well, then they ended up occupied. So are we going to go to Africa? Wait, Hitler just is going to invade Africa. So are we going to go east to Hungary? Well, that lasted for a little while. So are we going to go south to Spain? That would be an interesting thing to look up, and probably I should look that up. But I'm going to guess that the Spanish that were kind of going through kind of a civil war issue on their own at that time probably didn't want them either. Now, myself, at one point, I had thought about converting to Judaism. That was before I rebelled against all forms of religion. Yeah. Because I'm now hearing arguments that are saying, this land has been ours for 5,000 years. I don't know why the Palestinians think that they should have this land. Of course we should kick them out and kill them and, take all the land because they have no right to it. According to the Torah, it's ours. Well, according to the Quran, it's Muslims. According to the Christians, it's ours. So, yeah. So in 1948, we all feel guilty because we didn't want to take any of them in. So we give them Palestine. And not only do we give them Palestine, we allow them to drive the Palestinians out of their own country and come up with a two-state solution. And they have two states. But we also arm the Jewish people or the Israelites very well. Very, very well, and we give them our backing. The US, France, UK, yes, to make them a strong Jewish state and to protect our interests. So we send Palestinians packing to Egypt. The Egyptians think it's going to be temporary, right? And so they put them in basically UN camps. These people are never allowed back. The Jews never had any intention of allowing them back. They just took their lands. And it has continuously gone that way since 1948. The Jewish people are colonizers. They take away their land. They terrorize the people that live there. They randomly shoot people. They do raids. They kidnap people, put them in prison. We have thousands that are missing now that they don't know where those people went to. They were working in Israel on October 7th, and now they have disappeared. Somewhat similar to, is it Argentina? Where they rounded up people, took them to soccer stadiums, and those people disappeared. I'll look into that, and I'll write those down for next time. So, we have a horrific situation going on because what has happened is the Jews have surrounded Gaza before October 7th. They hate Hamas. Now, the Israels have surrounded Gaza so that you can't get in or out. The only way anything can get in or out is through Rafah Gate, which is in Egypt. There is no economy. The only economy is aid. 500 trucks a day go in and out. And, of course, the Israelites believe that the aid is going to Hamas. But then I hear that Hamas isn't even there. They're in Qatar, right? Or Qatar. So then, where's the aid going? I mean, yes, but they're barely giving them enough to get by because you want to make sure that they're starving, right? Where did the Jewish population learn this? World War II concentration camps. Keep your population barely starving so that they can't fight back. They're too weak to fight back. And yet Adam Kitzinger gets online and compares Hamas to the Nazis. He just needs to shut the fuck up because he has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. And he lost the moral high ground the minute this thing started. Now, every time someone tells me these poor Jews are so innocent, they were just wanting to enjoy an outdoor concert with their friends, and Hamas came across and killed people at this outdoor concert. And I have to ask myself, when was the last time the Palestinians were able to enjoy an outdoor concert? Yes, it was horrible what Hamas did. It was reprehensible. It shouldn't be allowed. But considering what the Jewish people have done to the Palestinians, is it any wonder they did what they did? Really? Is it any wonder? Because how many times do you kick a dog when they're down before they bite back? And if you're going to keep them like this in an open air prison in a concentration camp that they learned from World War II, from their own people, as to how to run it, and now they're doing it to someone else, which is perfectly okay, because they think, oh, they want to run us out of our own state. Well, please, somebody, please tell me another state that has been created for someone that is based on religion, because Jews had nowhere else to go. Jews have a passport. Palestinians don't. Jews can go wherever they want. They say they're so afraid. Well, aren't they afraid in Israel? How could they be any more afraid in America? And really, the only reason they should be afraid in America now is because of what they're doing to the Palestinians. Because before they did what they did to the Palestinians, I was upset, but felt that we could probably try and fix this if we got rid of Netanyahu and got rid of a bunch of the rest of the yahoos that were with him and worked to fix the system. But we can't have a group of people who control our political system, control all conservative politics, and then want to control our schools, our colleges, our unis, our banking. Is this sounding like what happened in Germany before World War II? Because it's scaring me. It's scaring me that I feel the way that I do. That's how bad it is. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to feel this way. I married my husband. He's half German. His mother was born in 1940. His grandfather was in the Wehrmacht. He spent 5 years in a Russian prisoner of war camp. His uncle was in the Hitler Youth. I thought I had the moral high ground. I wanted to know what they were like. I wanted to find out all the information I could about their family so that I could document it, so that I had the other side, so that I could sit there and go, oh my God, Gordon, what the fuck is wrong with your family? I am horrified how I feel now, and I don't want to feel this way at all. I don't. So we have to come up with a solution. But I'm not going to make this that long because I'm going to try and make a little bit each night. Because I can. I'm not working. And I can devote more time to doing more things. Even though I am extremely ill. Hopefully I won't be too ill that I can't do some things like this, which is kind of exciting to me. We'll see. But right now, I would like to address something that so many Jewish people and Israelis I always get stuck on that. Excuse me, I have a lisp. Sometimes it's hard for me to get words out. Sometimes it's hard for me to form them in my head to try and get them out. It's similar to what Biden goes through, which is why it upsets me so much when people make fun of Biden, because I understand what he's going through. So, they love to say 1,500 people killed. That's the largest amount of Jews that have been killed since the Holocaust. Well, you're lucky. Because in the U.S., we've had 566 mass shootings this year alone. And it's only October 29th. It's horrible. I mean, I can get together some more statistics of how many people are dying, but you don't want that. You want to compare it to the Holocaust. Okay. So, you said the 1,500 people compared to the 10 million people. You can't just say the 1,500 people. So the 1,500 people out of your 10 million people is the largest number of Jewish individuals who have died since the Holocaust. That is 0.006% of the population of Israel. But then again, some of them were Americans. They weren't Israel's. So we could probably fudge this a little bit. Now, since October 7th, the Israelis have killed 8,000 Palestinians in Gaza. And I'm not going to go and do this whole, well, Hamas is providing these numbers, or if that's what you want to believe, those are the fucking numbers. And if you don't like them, I will give you a parachute and drop you into Palestine, and you can count them yourself. That's the number we're going with. 8,000 people have been killed in Palestine from October 8th on. And it should be October 7th on. Their population is 2.2 million people. You never hear someone who's Jewish say that, because that's okay. I mean, it's Hamas's fault, right? They're hiding in the hospital. Well, maybe you don't bomb the hospital, or they're using them as human shields. You haven't proven any of that, but you don't have to, because you're Israel, right? You can do whatever you want. Let's see, what are your other excuses? You cut off their internet and all communication. Then you go on TV and tell them they all need to move to even farther south, and they need to evacuate this hospital now to get out of there because you're going to do even more bombing. The Israelis believe that Americans are stupid, and we are. They need munitions, we send it. They say jump, we say how high. Why we do this, I don't understand, except that apparently we need their political clout. And it's pathetic. It really is. Because we should not be doing that. You sell your soul to the devil. And I'm not saying this because they're Jewish. I'm saying this because they're wrong. I don't care who it is. But in this instance, They're wrong. And unless we stand up and say they're wrong, it's going to continue. They won't listen to the UN. They won't listen to the International Red Cross. They won't listen to Doctors Without Borders. They won't listen to any NGO. It took 4 hours to get Starlink to the NGOs. And now people are going after Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk has cover because he's the only one that can get astronauts, American astronauts, to the space station. So yeah, he can still get government contracts. And he's also the only one that'll go, fuck you. We need to make sure we keep him covered so they can keep the comms going. They need fuel to keep the hospitals running. I don't care if Hamas is underneath the hospital. I don't care if Hamas is next to a hospital. I don't care if Hamas is inside the hospital. You can't let IDF bomb the hospital just because. That is a war crime. And Hamas they committed a war crime on the 7th of October. That doesn't mean that Israel gets to commit war crimes for the rest of the entirety of the earth rotating around the sun. Just as it means that they weren't allowed to commit war crimes from October 7th through the 1800s. And we never held them to account once. They just ignored everything. They don't like it, they just ignore it. And we let them. Because we're afraid of them. Why? Because they won't give us money? Because we can't win? Because they're in Congress? Because they're in the Senate? Because they're in the Supreme Court? What is it? What is it that's keeping us from stopping this? I'm going to explore that more tomorrow. Think about this. Give me some hate mail. Hope you all have a good night. Bye.